So we got to talk about Alpine because everything is clearly not fine with Alpine. Um, as you
Oh
have,
boy.
as you teased at the start of the show, kind of feels like they're basically resetting, turning the entire team off and turning it on again. We have the exiting of team principal Otmar. We'll miss you, buddy. Sporting director Allen's out, and Pat Fry, their technical director, is going to Williams to be Williams technical director. We're also coming off. There was the two races of a double DNF. Pierre had a little bit of a stronger weekend this weekend, but I think a lot of that was on like his emotional drive was really pushing him for a lot of this
And
weekend.
sprints are dumb and there's no tire deck.
There you go. So other than that, Alpine, they're not number four in the constructors. They're really suffering. It's a fire across the board on for their executives. It seems in their car. I don't know what. I'm scared for Esteban. I don't know what's happening.
I I think it's important to put into context that Otmar was hired and started this job at the beginning of the 2022 season, last year. He has done this job for less than 2 years. And in a sport where right now they're developing the core of the 2024 car, how can you know if he's doing a good job?
And that's even what he said. He's like a lot of the
Right.
developments that he's made, a lot of the people he hired aren't starting
Haven't
till
started.
next year.
We had a story we talked about last week about how Ferrari hired away a Mercedes engineer that can't start until 2025. Like, the life cycle of these teams are so long, and as much as we kind of tease Alpine's continuous 100 race, like continually setting those goalposts, the reason they need to keep pushing back those goalposts is because they keep firing the people they put in charge. And every single big firing like this means you're resetting back at zero.
Oh, I can't. It make it make sense. Someone, somewhere, make it make sense. Especially after they had like this big investment coming in. It just seems like a lot of like really quick decisions that I
Goal
didn't
making.
fully understand why they were happening, especially like now. It just, and I understand like Alpine's having a difficult time, but to your point of all the things that we've just listed, like I don't understand how firing your team principal and your sporting director are like gonna be the answer to all of that.
Well, what's confusing to me is I can't figure out if they were fired because F1 is always like really vague and it's like they departed and it's like, all right, who quit, who was fired, who like this
Well, that
one feels a little more like a so they let go politely. They gave new direction to their CEO Rossi, I believe,
right, yeah.
like a week ago, a week or two ago. So to me, it feels like whoever the new guy who came in to be in charge of everything walked down to Otmar and said, "We need to be winning races next season," which is the most laughable thing that's come out of this whole thing. It's like Mercedes and Ferrari can't win races right now, and you're like, "Yeah, Alpine can." Okay, um,
Yeah, it seems like that there was a lot of people who maybe fully don't understand the process of like developing an F1 car, like getting leapfrogged by McLaren and then like was making some really strong decisions that I don't necessarily think will help them fix said decisions.
and
Um
none of those decisions are investing in their facilities because I think part of the reason like it's so laughable that like that would be the goal for Alpine right now is that their infrastructure is so far behind their like competitors, and unlike Aston Martin and McLaren, who have spent the last 2 years investing in their facilities to get their facilities to be at a Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull level, we haven't seen that from Alpine.
yeah. It's definitely something stinks. Smells like fish. Stinky over here. I don't know. It definitely doesn't. It felt wrong. I feel like to your point of going back to like is it F1's like way of doing things, like how do you know who was let go or who was like chose to leave on their own accord? I feel like if you end up getting a graphic like from F1, then you're usually if you're not a driver, because I'm now suddenly thinking like Fernando going to Aston was definitely like his choice, but usually if F1's like releasing a graphic about you and you're in a leadership role, I feel like it probably wasn't necessarily your decision in departing. Because Pat Fry did not get a graphic, but Alan and
Yeah.
Otmar did get a graphic.
And we have to put a pin in the Pat Fry for 1 second, because I
Right.
do think that's probably the more interesting thing that's going on here. But a graphic definitely means that for a non-driver category, that this wasn't a happy thing that happened normally. Like normally it's like, so I actually am on the side of, I think Otmar was like, F this, I'm out. But I don't think he wanted to be F this, I'm out.
Got it.
I think he was like, this is just like me trying to put the pieces together and all the things he's saying to the press now and everything that's going on. It kind of feels like the new bosses came down and said, so you're going to do this on this timeline. Can it be done? And he looked at them and said, no. And they said, but we need it to be. And it was a mutual goodbye. So
But it obviously
I don't know
had
who
to happen after he recorded his F1 Beyond the Grid episode.
I think that gives us some insight into how early they record those episodes, I
Like,
guess.
it felt comical that it was like the same week, basically.
Right.
Like, what?
I, which also makes me think that no one knew inside the team, no one knew that this was going on or what was happening or anything, because the PR arm of the team wasn't going to set him up for that interview to talk about those things and then for this to happen. Like,
Yeah,
it's all,
like days. It was literally within days.
it all just screams mess, big mess, so much mess. But Pat Fry is more interesting because Williams has been saying for months now that they've been in discussions with a big guy to bring in as their new technical director. And I personally never guessed that it was going to be someone who was already in the technical director role at a different team.
Nope.
But that is exactly what they did in poaching Pat Fry here. So what's interesting to me is that that was announced simultaneously with these other announcements. But was that always meant to be announced this weekend? And it just like happened to coincide? Maybe some of the reason that like Otmar and the sporting director left was because they were also losing their technical director. How much are these things connected or separate? And how exciting is this for Williams? Because I know that Alpine isn't rocking the world with their car right now, but like they're also not doing an awful job, and Pat Fry has proven that he's really good at this. So I'm excited for Williams.
Yes, very excited for Williams. Get Alex Albon consistently in points would make me so happy and so full of joy. I agree. I also started to question of like, is this the timing of things? Because then also depending on what news outlets you went to, it changed how they were like reporting it. Like a lot of people were saying like 3 executives have been asked to exit, and I'm like, well, no, 2 maybe have been and 1 not. Like a lot of places were reporting it differently, where they were only reporting about Alan and Otmar, and they weren't reporting about Pat, and then like it was some in different combos, and like F1's formal announcement was just about Otmar and Alan departing, and it did not mention Pat Fry in the same message. So first, I didn't know about Pat till later.
Right.
Because I didn't think. That's a really great question. I will never know the answer, and unfortunately, I don't think you will either. But
Yeah.
it,
I don't know. It might. I think it depends how Otmar's job prospects are, because he's not one to shy away from the press at explaining what happens.
as he already has been like, hello, why are you? I was doing stuff, but I guess bye.
So there's already a name lined up to, well, of course, there's an interim team principal at Alpine right now. But there was a certain someone seen in the paddock who has been both a fantastic technical director and a experienced existing team principal. I didn't know what adjective to put there. Who was seen in the paddock at Hungary, I believe it was. Oh no, it was Silverstone, one of those 2 races. And everyone was like, why is that there? And now his name is being floated for the Alpine team principal job. But I will throw out there that he might not be getting the team principal job. He also might just be getting the technical director job. But Nicole, Did you see our favorite Where's Waldo?
I saw Edna Mode. And this is also now when Gridwalk gets to learn that I called Mattia Bonotto Edna Mode. It's been a while. I haven't done that in a minute. Wow, that
Which is,
rocked
by the
my
way,
world.
a high compliment.
Oh,
I just want
of
to be
course.
clear.
Please.
Yes.
I mean that, and really it's like glasses. Like, I think, come on, like if you put him as a character in The Incredibles, they can be siblings. Not the point of all of this. I was shook.
What are you talking about? That is always the point of this. We bring up Mattia strictly to get you to talk about Edna Mode.
No
and The
capes.
Incredibles.
Could you
Okay,
imagine
make your
that one
smart
driving
point.
with a cape? Anyway, rocked my world having Mattia anywhere.
Wait. Could you imagine an F1 driver in a cape? We need to explore this before you make your good points. So, if they're driving the car, and we know they kind of like sit like leaned back a little bit, are you imagining the cape coming off the helmet? And if so, what part of the helmet is the cape coming out of? Or is the cape coming out the back of the car? I just need to get your vision.
Oh my god, I thought of none of those, and I just imagined a bunch of superheroes sitting in cars, sitting on their like capes and it getting like stuck in their brake pedals. But now I can't unsee capes on helmets, because capes on cars would just create a lot of issues, so we can't even consider. This is like the craziest conversation we might have ever had, and that's
But
saying
now
a
I'm
lot.
imagining it on the rear wing. But then, like, I'm like, how would the DRS activate?
And then you're back to why Edna does not want capes in the first place. It'll get sucked
Right.
up in a car wheel, just like it
100%.
did. Car wheel, what is this? A like tire tab? It'll get sucked up in a tire, just like it did in that one scene with The Incredibles where the guy's cape gets sucked into an airplane engine, and then you go, no capes. So no capes for F1 drivers. What is this podcast? How did we end up
summer break on Gridwalk? Okay, but make your so circling back, Mattia was seen in the paddock, and he's now connected to a job at Alpine.
And he was chit-chatting with Otmar, so like maybe this was the thing that like was known and going on, and like they were spotted together, so maybe it was a discussion. Who knows?
Maybe it was actually for the technical director job then.
There you go.
Because
as they knew
Pat
that Pat Fry was leaving.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. We just put it all together, and F1 still doesn't have any capes. You're welcome, everybody. It will be very interesting. I think as soon as we saw Mattia there, it was like, all right, so who's getting fired or who's getting hired? Because there would be no reason, I think, why he wouldn't be there if it wasn't necessarily a job hunt. Suddenly, out of nowhere, he's just like, what's up, guys? I'm here now, like, just to say hello. Thank you for listening to this highlight from episode of 28 of Gridwalk. Don't forget to like and subscribe for a ton of more F1 videos. Also, you made it this far into this video, so like watch the rest of the podcast. Click here to watch the full thing. It's right here. Ready? Click, 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 click.